Okay, as I told you all in our introduction, we're extremely lucky today to have Matt Nable with us. I've told you what Matt does in the introduction, but Matt, what we like to do, good morning, thank you so much for being here, is initially to find out who you are as a person, not what you do. Who is Matt Nable?
Look, I think that, after Aaron's passing, I did wrote his eulogy and delivered his eulogy. And I think, and I said outside of being in a relationship with someone, you're nothing, so I'm, first of all, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a friend, I'm a husband, and I'm a father. Beyond those five things, and then you can be a niece and all those types of things for family. But outside of relationships, to be honest, doesn't really matter to me. And look, and I've failed in all those relationships at different stages, so horribly. But I'm aware of them, and I'm not perfect and a very flawed person. But if I can maintain a cognizance of the importance of being those five things, then that's when I pass away, that's all I'll be remembered for. So
that's all love.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, I'm stuck in my seat. Matt's brother Aaron passed in March of this year from MND. He'd had it since 2020. Aaron was only 46 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron shouldn't have died, but he has. We've spoken to parents of, we've spoken to partners of, we've spoken to children of people with MND, but Matt, we've never actually spoken to a sibling of someone with MND. So how many of you in your family, how many children?
There's five of us. Aaron is my older brother, myself, my sister, another brother, and Aaron was the youngest.
And you have mum and dad still?
Mum and dad are still with us, yeah.
Which is a blessing. When Aaron told you that he had MND, did you know what MND was?
Yeah, I knew that it was a horrible disease, and I knew that there was no cure. When he told me, we sort of felt like he was having real trouble with his speech, and so I never thought it would be MND. I always thought MND started in the hand or the leg or something. I didn't know there was a condition called bulbar onset MND.
Yep.
But it got to the point where Nala, Cassandra. It got to the point where his speech had become so bad and was undecipherable almost. We knew something was wrong. He'd been to a speech therapist.
Yeah.
And she had seen the vacillations on his tongue, and she couldn't diagnose MND because she's not qualified to, but she said, you need to go and see a neurologist immediately.
Okay.
So she knew what he had. He got in and saw a neurologist, and he'd seen this guy once before. He didn't diagnose it then. He went and saw him 4 months later, and diagnosis came back in July 2022. Yeah. So no, we all knew was not curable, and that it was horrible. I had actually been before Aaron was diagnosed, had met Dominic at Con Ange's house, and Con's gravely ill with it at the moment. So Con had been diagnosed at that point, and there was a function at Con's house, and Dominic turned up to that. So I met Dominic about, that would have been 12 months beforehand, longer even. And I remember him talking about it and explaining the problems they were having with the funding and finding a cure for it, but just how horrible it could be. So I was very aware of it. And there'd been a couple of rugby league players that I knew of that had passed away with it. Yep. Scott Gale was one. And it was very, very, when we got the diagnosis, he got the diagnosis, it was, you're in shock. You're just like, well, he's terminally ill. How long he's got, we don't know. So it's very, very hard, which I'm sure you went through, just to get your head around it.
Yeah.
he's going to die. Yeah, it was horrible.
What was Aaron's attitude when he was diagnosed?
Angry, at the start, like unfair. This is unfair. And then very quickly, very, very quickly, turn to what can I do?
Okay.
It is what it is. So he was really brave that way, like pissed off at the start, like, fuck, really? And then, and I, and that because he couldn't really talk at that point, it went that quickly. And I maybe, how are you feeling about all this? And he'd just go, there's nothing you can do, So he was accepting really quick, really,
Really?
really, yeah, really fast. Because we also did things very quickly for him. Diagnosed in July, I said, okay, we're going to go to Las Vegas in September. We're going to go see this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And he all knew then, there was a real realization. We didn't fool around because we didn't know he was deteriorating quickly. I'm like, we're going to do this before he can't do this. Because we knew he's going to use the use of his limbs. He's probably not going to be able. A lot of people with bulbar onset walk into a hospital and don't walk out.
Yeah.
We just didn't know how long he had. And Dominic was like, it's pretty advanced where it's at when he was diagnosed. So like I said, we did things for Aaron, we took him places, we did all these things in and around him, and he was aware and accepting, well, they're doing this because I don't have long. So we didn't sugarcoat it. We were sympathetic and loving and horrified, but it was our reality. And so we took the approach, okay, whatever time he has left, where he's on his feet and he can do things, we're going to do things. And that's what we did. So for him, he realized while we were doing all that, what it was for. Yeah.
And,
so he
okay.
accepted it very quickly.
So he accepted that and he went along with it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And had some fun.
Yeah. It's really important to have fun, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, I'll explain. My brother was one of the greatest scallywags who's ever walked planet.
And that's coming from you.
Yeah. He's all over me, don't worry. But he's one of the great scallywags. And, Aaron lived 46 years and he packed them in. There was a period there of 8 or 9 years where Aaron lived 6 lifetimes. So, he knew how to have a good time. And he was hampered a little bit, because of the disease when we took him places, but he enjoyed himself and we made sure of that.
I hope you still took the piss out of each other.
Yeah, nothing changed.
Good. Yeah.
And I was looking at text messages the other day, and I sent him some really harsh text messages when he was sick because he was, he'd have a go at mum. Him and mum had a very strong relationship, and he'd have a go at her, and I'd be like, "Listen here, you fuckwit, don't be. Yeah. We're doing everything we can here, so lay off and
back off your mother."
Yeah, but that, we are what we are. Like nothing. If got a very, very short rope with the siblings in our family. If you step out of line, then you're going to get told. Like it's not there's nowhere to grace. There's no one.
No pussyfooting around.
And, no one. Look, my siblings couldn't give two shits what I do for a job.
Yeah.
I don't give two shits what they do. It's not about that. We're all about our relationship, and we're proud of each other in many, many respects. But if you misbehave or your conduct's not something that then you're going to get told. And Aaron, so it was, and I would, you're always laughing with him and, having a joke and taking the piss out of each other. I mean, it wasn't all, we had some really good laughs when he was sick and we all serve certain purposes, every sibling. And I made him laugh, so it was hard yet to get yourself up, particularly when he was bedridden. It's like, okay, I've got to go in and see him and I've got to try and make him laugh. So, and I did that to the best of my ability, the best way I could.
How long was he bedridden for?
A long time. Like I said, he went into hospital to have a peg in March 3. He came out, he went back into hospital in May 2023 with aspirated. So he had aspirational pneumonia.
Yep.
That was really hairy. We thought, oh, he might go here. He got out of the hospital. July, he went back in with aspirational pneumonia, and that was really dire because he was plugging, what's called plugging in his lungs. It wasn't opening up. And Dominic came in, he called a meeting with us all one morning. He said, listen, this is going to be real close here. I'm not sure he's going to get through this. So I'm going to have a conversation with him and say, son, if you want some help now, you can get it.
Yep.
So we went through that process of, okay, this is where he would go, and he was out of hospital 2 days later. So, you know, no, he was like, yeah. And literally 2 days later, he was out of hospital. But when he got out of hospital after that, Jane, it depleted him. You never regain the strength that you lose in hospital when you have that disease.
Yeah.
So he was pretty well done on his feet. You know, so that was July last year. So
Well,
yeah, you could pick him up and he was like a puppet. And then, you know, very quickly he couldn't do it. So so he was bedridden for a long time, yeah.
we were talking before we started to record that Aaron was a strong bastard. So he played league as well.
Played league.
He boxed.
Yeah, boxing, you know, like I said before, very hard to articulate if you don't know anything about boxing, how good Aaron was. Like Aaron was world class, elite. You know, he was the national champion at a very young age for a man. You know, he's only 19.
That is young, yeah.
And trained in an environment back in the mid and late 90s, early 2000s. There were a lot of good fighters around, and Aaron was, you know, he was under Johnny Lewis at the same time Costa Zoo was, and another guy called Justin Rousel, and only a handful of fighters. So Aaron was exceptional, like exceptional. But in saying that, there's a cost that goes with that. That was a very combative and competitive environment to be in. So, you know, Aaron had 60 odd fights. Aaron had 1,000 fights because a lot of those sparring sessions were just simply fights without a referee. You know, no one's holding back. They're called hit outs. They're just fights. So, you know, damage, there is damage. You're not going to walk out the same way you walked in. That won't happen. And that's,
yeah. Sorry, Dominic.
No, it's true of anyone at that level. You know, that will happen. There'll be some sort of collateral damage neurologically that happens.
Then he worked as a groundskeeper.
Yeah, he worked. You know, he worked as a greenkeeper while he was boxing, because he would finish at 1 o'clock, he'd go over to Newtown and train, and he did that every day. And that's the type of commitment. And if you're going to be a boxer, not, you know, go and hit bags or pads or anything, but you're going to fight, then that's how you have to train. And so he loved that. He was Aaron, like I said before, Aaron was very, very good at absorbing pain and adjusting to pain because of what he put himself through. And that is one of the reasons he lived as long as he did with that disease, was his ability to do those things. He gave boxing away relatively early. He was only 22. He missed out on the Olympics in 2020 by a very small margin. That sort of really kicked him in the guts. And then he joined the Wolves on the waterfront, and he really met his people on the waterfront. Aaron was a huge advocate of people less fortunate than himself. And when he joined the waterfront, about the workers, and he wasn't as idealistic as a lot of that work, some of those guys are, but he had a real affection and affiliation for those less fortunate for himself. That's, you know, and that's the biggest part of who Aaron was.
I noted that recently some of his colleagues from that time did a big walk.
They did, yeah. Yeah. Bluey and Stumpy, two guys from the Wolves that work with Azza, they walked from Brisbane to Sydney.
Northern Beaches.
Yep. You know, raised, I think 60 or 70 grand for MND, and you know, I got a heap of people to send them, you know, good luck messages, and you know, Joel Edgerton and Russell Crowe, and you know, a whole heap of NRL guys, Matty Johns and Fletch and Ivan Cleary, the guys I've known for a long time. They, you know, they've all been very, very supportive of my family and myself, unknowing, because these people have an awareness of what motor neuron disease is, and they all knew Aaron to some capacity. So yeah, those guys did that off their own bat. They didn't, you know, they just said this is what we're doing, and away they went. When they walked, yeah, they took, I think they took 3 or 4 weeks and came into Sydney. We all welcomed them. It was, yeah, very moving.
It was
Good,
beautiful. I was watching from afar.
good people.
They are good people. So that two of the things that you've just talked about there is raising awareness of MND and raising funds for MND. And they're two things that I am actually about now.
Yeah.
It's too early for you. You've
Mm.
only just lost Aaron a few months ago. But as I was saying to you before, it's quite extraordinary that we live in an MND bubble, so we know all about MND. But a very
Yeah.
large part of the population doesn't understand what MND is. Also, as Dom and I discussed at length, it was quite extraordinary how within a very short 12-month time frame we could have a vaccination for COVID.
Yeah.
Imagine if we could utilize all those same funds to finding a cure, a source for MND.
Yeah. Well, that's where it's unacceptable, and
It is.
this day and age, and you know, in 2024 to be diagnosed with a disease like motor neuron disease and not have any hope, that's, yeah, it's not acceptable.
It's
And
not.
but there are people dying with the disease that, you know, that there is a cure out there. It's there, and we need the money and the awareness in and around to find it. Yeah, and that's the hard thing, you know, like it seems, you know, since Aaron got diagnosed with MND, I hear of people getting diagnosed all the time now.
Well, Dom said to me, stop. He said to me, stop calling it a rare disease. It is not a fucking rare disease. We currently have 2,000 people in this country with MND,
Yep.
and we will have consistently 2,000 or higher.
Yep.
Because we have people going out every day and people coming in every day.
Yep.
And more people that we know.
Yeah, I mean, it'll touch everyone.
Yeah.
And, you know, Dom said in 1985, it was 1 in 500 people. Now it's 1 in 200.
1 in 200. Yep.
So something environmentally is happening. Dom sort of said, looked at me, says water.
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 Green algae.
Yep. Whatever it is, that's where it's at, you know. And it's not like there can be vapor from hail that passes through something and you know, it triggers something in someone who has this, you know, predisposition for it. And
Yep.
once it starts, I mean, Aaron probably had MND for probably 3 or 4 years before he was diagnosed.
Yeah, same as Robert. Yeah.
So,
same
you
as
know,
a lot of people.
long time before that crossed that threshold where there are more neurons not working than neurons working, and then
Yep.
you start presenting symptoms. So he had it for a long time, and it's so hard to diagnose. And then in the end, when everyone gets diagnosed, like, well, you're pretty close to, you know, particularly with bulbar onset, which is, you know, only 18 months to 3 years from diagnosis on average.
Yep.
And some people, Dominic's lost someone in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So, you know, we need something early to identify it. We need to register so that we can reference where this is happening and why this is happening.
Yep. And we need to understand geological, right word, location, what chemicals have you been with, anything environmental. There are two pilots, two guys at the moment. They've known each other for 30 years. One's an AMBO, one's a cop. They both are in air. So they're both coincident, dude? I don't think so.
No,
When
but
we do the Danahurst Drive, we go around some tiny towns, 2,000 people, 7 to 8 people with MND. Coincidence? It ain't no coincidence.
well, there's definitely clusters, and there's definitely, like I said, environments that Aaron was exposed to, at least that point towards possible areas that can cause MND.
Yep.
Like I said, he was a greenkeeper. There's some clusters in and around Manly Dam. All the water that was irrigated in
Yep.
to the greens that he worked on were from Manly Dam.
Yep.
There's correlations, like I said before, with head trauma. He had plenty of that.
Yep.
But again, they're not diagnosis. They're
No.
possible causes. And until we find what a proper diagnosis is, then you're just sort of bumping into walls.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then awareness as well. So that's something that I'm trying to work on, but I'm not a famous super Hollywood movie star, but hell, babe, you are. So when you're ready, you can start.
There are things that I'll do. Like I said, there's conversations I'll talk with Neil Danaher's daughter today.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Peter Volandis, who I get on really well with. He's aware that something needs to be done in this space, and he's remarkably sympathetic to that. There's also, an opportunity, I think, for the NRL and the AFL to come together in a real harmonious and galvanised way for a common good. I think what Neil Danaher has done with the Big Freeze is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And the NRL need to either,
Get off the pot.
yeah, well, I think it's coming. It's just it's a matter of someone like me going in and saying, how do we do this? And putting their feet to the fire and saying, we're doing it. Because if they don't do it, then my voice will go straight to the AFL independently.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do that.
No.
And I don't think it'll ever go to that, but they need to have some pressure applied on them for it. The Mark Hughes Foundation is a great example of what they can do. Hughes, he had brain cancer, and that community has rallied around, and that's I know people have died of that disease, and it's horrible. My mother-in-law has brain cancer at the moment, and it's a horrible disease. And what they have done is exactly what we should be doing. The NRL should be doing in and around motor neuron disease. Carl Webb is not the last person in the NRL that will pass away with MND.
No, it's not.
So, yeah, I'll get on the front foot when and look, I spoke to Joel Edgerton the other day. We have a project we're doing together, and he spoke about, I spent a lot of time with him while Aaron was sick, and I spoke about, doing something in this space as a feature film. And I ended up saying, look, Aaron's life was a big enough life for it to be about him.
Well, you can write that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd step back from it. I'm no interest in directing it or something, but it would be something that Joel, I know, would be interested in developing with me, and that story, knowing Aaron's story, is a compelling story, but inevitably it's a story about motor neuron disease. That's what it'd be. And so that's a long way away off for me, because I'm not ready to go into that.
Too early for that.
Yeah, but I will write that. What happens with it, I don't know, but the story will be written.
So I think that this is just from me. As a country, we need to work together against this disease. So, if you want something done in life, I reckon Peter Volandis and Neil Danaher could probably do it. Also, in Victoria, everybody knows about MND because of Neil.
Yep.
And it's a bit parochial, so if we can expand it across the country, and that's Beck getting in contact with you today, it's going to make a difference, But you're not ready yet; it's too soon.
Well, look, it'll happen this year. I was in Magic Round last weekend, and had planned to sort of try and catch up with those guys, but it just didn't eventuate. I had my sons there, and look, we're just having a good time, basically.
Good, you should.
Being scallywags, and so
good. I want you to be a scallywag.
Yeah, no. But it's definitely on the horizon and something that, like I said, I'll use as whatever platform I have. I'm not on social media, but
No, I
something
know.
Perhaps draw me to, to do to one of the platforms where it will become the focus. And if that's what I've got to do, then, that's what I will do.
All right. Well, however I can help you do that, I will.
Mhm.
When I was watching Transfusion the other day, bits of it, because I have to just fast forward through the really scary, violent bits.
There's a lot of them.
So you wrote that, you started it, and you directed it with Sam Worthington.
Yeah.
Amazing. But because my brother's in the industry, I'm one of those freaks who always reads the credits at the end.
Mm.
And I didn't notice it, but Aaron was in that.
Aaron is in that. Aaron plays,
Mark?
he plays a scene where very like he's in it. There's a massive fight between me and another guy.
Yeah. That's
And
unusual.
yeah, yeah, that's Aaron. So that was, August 2021. A year later, he was diagnosed, and 18 months after that, he was gone. And when you see him in that film, he's this massive, big. And I didn't want to use a stuntman. I didn't want to use a stuntman because I didn't want to tag them. So this was a particularly violent fight. And I was like, okay, if I'm because the scene preceding him coming in is me drinking. I've been on a bender basically. So
Yeah, you had been.
I
Big bender.
the night before, it was a Friday. And as a director, I let everyone know this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to try and get myself as wired as I can. So the producers, you're in charge, and the DOP Shelley, he knew what he was doing. So when I got there, I was twisted, which I needed to be emotionally, or I wasn't going to make it. And I needed Aaron there because I didn't know, I didn't want to. I trusted Aaron and enough to know, okay, if this goes a bit awry, he's going to be all right.
He'll
Right?
look after you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I ended up tagging him, and so I hit him where I shouldn't have hit him, and he didn't say, well, this is what type Aaron was like. So I hit him with a punch, and it cut him so badly in his mouth that the cut was probably that long, and almost went through to his cheek. He didn't eat for a week. He was on antibiotics for a week, so
Matthew.
he didn't say a word. What he did was he came outside where Maruba and filming, he spat blood, and he goes, "Oh, you got me." And he showed me, and I said, "You all right?" He goes, "Yeah, I'll be all right." But when he went home, he cursed me out for days and days and days and days. Fucking Matthew, you did this, like he'd been drinking the night before, and anyway, because he's pissed off because he couldn't eat. Like he literally couldn't eat. So, but then like no one on the set knew. No, he didn't say a word. Nothing.
Did
Nothing.
your mummy yell at you after that for hurting your,
No,
your little brother?
she didn't say anything. Look, don't worry, I've got plenty of hidings off Aaron, plenty. So, and bad ones. No, she didn't say anything because we grew up remarkably physical, and yeah, there was there's nothing for us to be honest at all. I said sorry, but I'm not going to. I said sorry, mate. Like,
Yeah, so's mate.
yeah,
Yeah, here's your check. Bugger off.
yeah, here's your check. No, go away. Like I was sorry, but
Yeah. But so's, but not so's.
that's why I hired
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To punch the shit out of you, buddy.
exactly. Yeah.
How are your parents?
Look, they're struggling. They're over in America at the moment. Aaron passed away in the house and they left there. My father had a heart attack a couple of weeks ago in America. So, we're still trying to process that, but they come back next week. I don't know how they are, to be honest, because they've been away for best part of 6 weeks. And when they get back into the house, I guess we'll have a little bit more of an idea of where they're at emotionally and with everything. I just don't know.
Have you
Um,
cleared out the hospital bed and all of that stuff?
yeah, that's all gone.
I think
Very hard,
psychologically
very
that's
hard to go.
important.
Very hard to go in there at the
Yeah,
moment.
I know.
Uh, but yeah, look, I've lost a brother. A lot of people lost a friend, and they've lost their father and stuff. But they've lost a son, and I don't have any reference for that.
No. Well, I do. Shit.
Yeah, no, you do.
Yeah.
and I'm so sorry, but that's different.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
it's a different. It's just different. You should never bury your children, and so they're dealing with that, and they find great solace in other people who have gone through the same thing, because it's a shared experience and grief that no one else can explain or empathize with, and I can't.
No,
He's my brother. He's not my son. It's different. It's just different. You don't love them any differently. Or sorry, you don't love them any less. It's a different type of love.
totally.
So yeah, we keep keep my eye on my parents, make sure that they're looked after and loved, and yeah, that's what we'll do.
And your other siblings?
Saying that, look, they're going through exactly what I'm going through.
Yeah.
But we speak every day, all of us speak every day, and we're in it together. You know,
Yeah,
and look,
you are.
it's happened to us, and for a lot
Yes.
of people, they know it's sad and it's tragic, but it's not them. It's not happening to them. They go, "Oh,
No.
that's terrible," and they go and read the paper. And look,
Yeah.
I've done the same thing.
Yeah.
It's life.
Yeah,
So
it is.
it's your family. It's different.
How do I know you've got to go soon because you're a busy human. How do you think your writing will be affected now that you've experienced that grief so up close?
Depending on what I'm
Or
writing.
are you separate? Like,
No,
are you
no.
Matthew, or and the are you? I mean, do you separate yourself?
Yeah, look, I'm writing something at the moment that's not there's no real darkness in there. I needed a break from that. I mean, I can left my own devices. I can live under a storm cloud. So, and my writing will reflect that, particularly in novels. Um, every novel that I've written is remarkably dark in
Yeah.
certain parts. Um, so, what I'll try and do is save the experience of Aaron's passing and his disease for when I write that story, and then I'll put everything into that. But look, you're governed by what's happened creatively all the time, and not always in a good way. Like some days I get up and I'm like, oh, the last thing I want to do is write at the moment. And that's really rare for me. Like that's almost unheard of. There are days like this week I haven't written anything, and I'm not going to. I'm not in that headspace, and there's nothing telling or pushing me to do that where I need to. So I need to process this grief. I'll go to Tasmania tomorrow, and I'm away for 6 days, 7 days. I'm right on the west coast of Tasmania, which is beautiful.
It's
Got
so beautiful.
5-hour drive tomorrow from Hobart into Queenstown, and I'll spend a lot of time thinking about Aaron then.
Are you working there?
Yeah, just filming a show for the ABC. So, which came out, was filmed in 2022, and this is the second season. So, I'll spend a lot of time over the next week by myself. So, spend the
Good.
time thinking about
I
him.
think that's probably the perfect place to be by yourself too.
It's gorgeous, yeah. So,
It is.
I may even spend some time while I'm there starting his story. I don't know. I'm sort of playing with that idea, so we'll see.
Okay. I feel your pain.
Yeah, I know you do, Jane. It's
Sorry.
no, look, it's a very specific pain. Losing someone to motor neuron disease. It's and we all go through the horrors of that disease by bearing witness to it and seeing it take everything from a human being, except their mind in the end,
Their
and their heart.
mind and their heart.
And that's the hard thing to watch. It's just
which takes us back to where we started, which is love,
love. Yeah, yeah.
And, I'm really glad that you and I have been in communication for the last year or so, because if I only knew you from the screen, I wouldn't have talked to you. I would have been too fucking scared, dude. But,
no, there's nothing scary about me at all.
but there is nothing scary about you at all.
No, not one bit.
No.
Not at all. Look, we're we're doing our best as a family at the moment to get through this, and we will. We'll not till you get through it, you accept it, and you remember. You never forget who they were.
At the
And
moment, you're still remembering sick Aaron.
yeah, you do. You do.
It's going to take you quite a while to not forget, but to allow those images
Yep.
to be replaced by happy Aaron, naughty Aaron, pain in the ass Aaron,
Exactly.
you're Aaron.
Yeah.
But it will happen.
Yeah.
Okay, we will still be in touch. We
Yes.
will, I think, be working together a lot over the coming years to smack Australia around the head.
I hope so.
And yeah, I'm just really, really, really grateful to you.
Thank you so much, Jane, for your time, love. And yes, we will stay in contact definitely. And I'll talk to Neil's daughter today, and then
Yep.
I'll keep you what's going on
Yeah,
with.
send me a message.
Thanks, love. You be safe, sweetheart, and keep your head up.
Thanks, darling. Okay.
Bye.